Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wanda, Halbert, Shelby County Clerk. We have our team here, and we've asked my attorney to speak to you first, Attorney O'Neill.
How y'all doing again? So, I know you guys saw the results that the Court of Appeals, we sent this matter back down to the trial court. Actually, that's not where we stop at, because they sent it to, they appealed it up to the Court of Appeals. Now, the next step is for us, and we're probably going to appeal it, we're going to request for permission to appeal it to the Supreme Court. So that's our next step. In regards to the clerk, really what she's going to talk about is, I guess there's been substantial questions and conversations and concerns about this Millington scenario. I think this Millington scenario is totally going the wrong way. And what she's provided you is a copy of documentation. And what you'll see in that documentation, you'll see that there is an actual lease agreement. That lease agreement is with Shelby County. You also see that there's a resolution that was passed by Shelby County. The resolution specifically states that Shelby County government will pay that lease. Without there's no ifs, ands, and buts about here. The clerk's office don't write checks for leases. That all comes to the mayor's office. The clerk's going to talk to you about those things.
Again, good afternoon, everyone. Attorney O'Neill is correct in that our office, our executive team, has never been contacted prior to sometime in 2023, 2020, early 2024, after a lease had been getting, some financials had been paying for a Millington rent. This organization has never had a rent with Millington, and upon hearing about it, we inquired only to discover that not only were we never invited to any of the meetings, we didn't even participate in the process to sign a lease. So we have given each of you a copy of those documents. Those are the authentic documents as we have seen them. Anything outside of that, we're not aware of. So that has become one of the many things that have created some challenges for the organization. I'm not going to necessarily quote law. However, I have to reference the fact that we have multiple independent officers in Shelby County government. No office can tell the other office what to do. The laws, rules, and regulations tell us that. This office has not in any way intentionally or otherwise done anything wrong. I am very concerned that a lease has popped up over the last year or two. Someone has been paying it and then knocked on my door wanting me to continue paying it. We're not going to engage in those conversations, and I'm more than welcome for us to make that a formal process and take all who are involved and want to discuss it, we can go in and make that happen. But just as Attorney O'Neill has said, I don't know about a lease. We have seen it. My name is not on it. If Shelby County wants to make a decision out of their budget to provide a service for our office, then we're more than willing to accept that. But we did not know that that is what Shelby County was doing. Did I say that correctly, sir? So I'm not sure if there are other issues that you all may want to talk about, but we do want to reference the fact that we've started sending a weekly statistic report on our services, particularly motor vehicle. Motor vehicle is the largest, probably the largest revenue generator that we have in the Shelby County Clerk's office. It has been challenging because we're still functioning in antiquated ways, but I'm very proud of the team that we've put together because they have backgrounds in finance, technology, coding, etc. So that has made it easier for us to be able to look at the numbers. And I do think that we want to give an update to the public. So if it's okay, I want to invite Mr. Benny Smith. He's going to talk to you briefly about the statistics that you all have been receiving, I think for the last 2 weeks now, in your mail.
Thank you, Clerk Halbert. So we are at the motor vehicle registration. We are processing license plates, renewals, most of the customer base that's coming in. If they're driving, if they want to drive on the streets, you have to have a sticker. You have to have your car registered. And so we've been tracking that. Clerk Halbert wanted us to look at a snapshot in time, starting from September the 1st through yesterday, we saw a huge spike in people coming to register their cars, and Clerk was concerned that we had to be creative to try to handle the number of people that were coming in. So on a given day, a busy day in the clerk's office is somewhere around 4,000 customers. Well, we got about 7,000 customers in a single day. And so the lines were unusually long. And so we've been sending out, and I'm just going to put it out, we've been sending out just what has been happening. And what we were able to ascertain from the data, if you look at the data, and I'll just pull these to the side, we are isolating our registration. So around the time of the announcement of the National Guard and the task force, we saw a spike in registrations. And so that's not abnormal if individuals are fearful of being pulled over, they want to make sure that their registrations are current. And so they just got it out of the way and they did their registrations. However, what we saw, and this is what contributed to the longer and the abnormal lines, is our late registrations. So fear and assistance is own economy. And so we had a number of drivers that had not, for financial reasons, could not afford to potentially pay for their registration. So they were kind of chancing it. They were driving around with expired tags, and now you have a threat of being pulled over. And so we had a number of citizens to come in, and it's a huge price tags on the public because they're paying for 3 and 4 years. And I think we cap it to 2, but they're having to come out with $400 or $500 just to be on the streets. And so it's a time consuming. We have to call. We have to check. We have to check the registration. We have to check it for tickets. It's a time consuming task. And so the system that we are already functioning at a loss is now being overburdened with an influx of traffic. So there's more demand of the clerk's office with the same number of clerks, the same number of workstations, and the same technology. And so what we did was we wanted to make sure it in fact was the case. We didn't want to just put out something without checking it. So we did a year look at it. And so what we wanted to make sure is it in fact related to this current event? And so we went back to the January the 2nd, up until yesterday, and what you'll see is every time there's a spike, that's the end of the month, and that's our usual cycle. We usually get a number of customers who, at the end of the month, they realize they're about to be expired, or at the beginning of the month, they realize they are expired, and that's usually what happens with the lines. It's no magic to it. Most people come at the same time, so if you got 1 million people trying to file into one location, that's what you see with the lines. And what we were able to see was an abnormal statistic, which again is the late registration. So if you look at this last little piece right here, it is unlike anything else in the data set, and that's because we have a influx of people who are coming for late registration, and that is time consuming, and that's why the clerk, I think she said pack your patience, because that's what we're dealing with.
Thank you. So essentially, this has been a challenge. I have worked my entire life in organizations, including one of the largest technology organizations in the world. And, to see the challenges that we're having to endure has been a little stressful, but we have an amazing team, and we have a very talented team. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that I notified you, coming in at the beginning of this process, we all knew when law enforcement was going to be arriving around the time frame. But coming in the office one morning, I happened to notice that the lines were, I have never seen them, literally from our motor vehicle side, which is our largest revenue generator. They're in the lines in the hallway, outside the back door, down to 3rd Street. That's how long the line was that particular morning. So every day we generally go out and we have to kind of separate the lines, make sure that we don't have anyone standing in line unnecessarily. But during that process, I noticed a young mother who was there with her infant baby in a stroller. And I asked her, ma'am, if you don't mind me asking, why are you here? Well, interestingly, she had not registered her vehicle for at least 2 years. So she was one of the ones who got stopped rather, And they literally pulled her license plate off of the vehicle. I'm not sure what all of the processes are, but she knew then that she had to up her renewals. And when you're late like that, there are usually additional fees. So there's a lot happening with the process, but I also want to remind everyone, we're in the same facilities that we've been in for the last 25, 30 plus years. Make that make sense. Our customer base has significantly grown, but we're serving the customer in the same facilities. And most of the times when our team has asked for an increase, regardless as to whether it's the salaries for the employees, new facilities because of the, the ADA and code issues, if the answer is no, we're a little limited. So we're not trying to hide or escape from our duties and responsibility. I don't believe there's not an employee or an executive in this organization that does not love our work. I love this work. But I'm not going to participate in anything that goes outside of what is required of us. And it has been very difficult, trying to navigate through that process with a lot of misinformation that's circulating. And one of the primary reasons we invited you here today is that we wanted you to see that we're not sitting on our hands. We are the day-to-day revenue generator for Shelby County government. And I'm proud of the work that our team and our leadership has put forth. And I'm not sure if any of you have even recognized it. Go pull your audit reports. I think, I still have a little smile on my face. So if there are any questions, we would like to entertain those. I may have to refer you to the attorney depending on the line of questioning.
What will be the grounds for appeal of the Court of Appeals on yesterday?
Yeah, that's as a matter of right. So under Rule 11, if your concern is whether, just like if you believe the trial court got it wrong, you appeal to the Court of Appeals. And if you believe the Court of Appeals get it wrong, you appeal to the Supreme Court. So that's kind of how we believe that the trial court's ruling was the correct ruling, and we're going to ask the Supreme Court to look at it and tell us whether or not it was in fact the correct or incorrect ruling. So that's our intent.
Reagan Copeland with Channel 3. When it comes to the clerk's offices, the other locations, to your knowledge, how is that rent being paid? Are you paying it, or is it Shelby County government who is responsible for it?
Excellent question, and thank you for that question. When I initially became the county clerk, all of those things were handled across the street with the mayor's administration. So even though you can pull inside of your packet, I believe you have a budget sheet for each fiscal year up until 2025. And you will see historically the majority of the money that they're booking for us is $14 million, but the only financials we see is the $7 million, which is our salaries for our employees, and we know that has recently gone up. So I think that's part of the reason why it's extremely important. The law requires the outgoing officials to legally turn the office over to the incoming officials. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And so having to dig and navigate through a process that just doesn't seem quite normal, that was difficult for us. But we finally put together, we had multiple teams that did an excellent job, and we've got an excellent organization now that is on top of it, far more than we could have been.
Do you pay rent at the other location?
Again, the Shelby County government historically was paying that, and at some point, I think we now do a procurement notification. So now they're asking for approval to pay for it. But we don't directly see financials. Those decisions are made that obviously they were made outside of our organization. And I will again go on the record to tell you, we've never had a rent in Millington prior to this coming up. I have never been invited to any meetings to discuss a lease with Millington. I did request a meeting with the immediate past mayor, and we shared with him that our current Millington space is a little small, and we created a bigger vision for the city of Millington, which was to add kiosks throughout different parts of their city, including the downtown, their office, their specific government office, a couple of the library, and the grocery stores, the grocery areas. They were excited about it, but this obviously had been occurring, and we didn't seem to know anything about it.
Ms. Halbert, Desmond Wade, like the last year or so, just with, I guess, whatever dealings or, I guess, accusations, how does it feel to kind of be in the spotlight once again for something that, just another situation like this?
So, I don't take this personal. This is work. And some people have their own way outside of this organization that they want to see the operations performing and functioning. Well, I'm going to stick to the book, not a book that someone puts in my hand, but the laws, rules, and regulations. And even over the course of the last 7 years, I've had to knock on multiple doors at the state level because we need to know we're trained one thing, but Shelby County may do something different. Not that they don't have the authority to do that, but in a lot of those instances, we found that there have been some practices, and we're just choosing to stick with the laws versus the practice. Yes, ma'am.
There was a mediation that was supposed to happen. Who put out and why? Can you share that with us?
I'm going to turn that over to my attorney, please.
Well, we didn't pull out of it. I'm going to leave it at that. You can figure out the rest. I mean, in order for the mediation to have to occur, we had to agree on it, and we did. I mean, look, my client has less than a year in office. To continue in the middle of litigation, and you got 9 months in office, and we're in full-fledged litigation over something that in 9 months is not going to even matter, makes no sense. So mediation, in my mind, was the appropriate thing to do, and that's why we agreed to it.
Why did mediation end then? I think there was a reference to one side left the mediation. Was that you?
It's not our side.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to, so we're the plaintiff has to want to go to mediation, and then the defendant has to also agree to mediation. So in order for that to happen, that situation occurred. We had both parties agreeing to the mediation. Then at a later date, the plaintiff decided they didn't want to mediate any longer.
What does a successful mediation look like to you? I mean, you made a point of there are 9 months left in Clerk Halbert's term. What does that look like to you? Is it just finishing out the term, or is it an early end to the term? What does that look like
So what is a successful mediation or a successful mediation in this particular case?
in this case?
I don't know. Because the reality of it is you have attorneys that are being paid by citizens' tax dollars. So a successful mediation may be that the citizens of Shelby County are no longer paying attorney fees for outside counsel. That could be successful. The fact that, if you look at the numbers, you look at the stats, what are we talking about? My client's stats are good. My client's office is running efficiently. We just gave you the breakdown, we gave you the numbers. The numbers are good. So what is wrong? So, I don't know what a success, the short answer is, I don't really know what a successful mediation looks like, but we would be discussing all those things that we're talking about. What is the end state? How long we'll continue to pay money? How do we shut this down where the taxpayers are not harmed by all of this negative publicity? There's a lot of different ways that mediation can go.
And speaking of, you mentioned appeal, and speaking of paying the attorney, how much would this be costing taxpayers? Just the money set aside, or would that cost anything? What that look like?
Lawyers bill by the hour. You do the math. For every hour a lawyer works, they bill anywhere from $300 to $700 an hour. Just depends on the lawyer, depends on the firm. If you got one lawyer or two lawyers, each one of those lawyers are billing their billable hour rate. So if you got 3 lawyers or 2 lawyers, if the lawyer's rate is $300, $400, and that's 2 lawyers, you're paying $700 an hour. And so on an average, an appeal will take you somewhere around, if you're doing it, if somebody's writing and they're doing everything, the research right, you could be looking at 80 hours easily. So do 80 hours times $1,000. That's what the citizens is paying. And that's only on one side.
Clerk Halbert, Reagan Copeland, Channel 3. When it comes to this specific lawsuit, and I know there was a previous attempt to remove you from your position, what is your response to the allegations and the accusations that you don't fulfill your role, you're not fit for the position? What is your response to that?
I'll take that question. We disagree with it. It's just that simple. And the evidence doesn't support it. And that's the reason why we are where we are. If we believe that she did something wrong, she could have just walked away. This is an elected position. Here's how much the citizens thought about it. They reelected her. So Again, those allegations, we believe that they're legit, that they're not legit, and we could overcome them. And that's the reason why we were defending them.
And what does the next 9 months look like in your term? What do you want to focus on going forward now?
Well, moving forward, I am absolutely not going to leave this office in the condition we found it. Before anything, I'm a taxpayer first. I'm offended at what I saw. And I want to be transparently honest with you all and say that my duty, if I see something, I'm supposed to say something. And unfortunately, when I said something, something different happened than normal. We are here to do a job. I am elected by the people because they believe in me. They believe that I will do the right thing by them, their families, and their future. So if anyone tells you that Wanda Halbert intentionally did anything out of order, I can absolutely tell you that's not true. That's not true. But I hope I don't get myself in a little trouble, Mr. Attorney, by saying this. I'm not afraid to do the right thing. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you came from, how you grew up. I'm not afraid. We saw something wrong. We reported it. In some kind of way, I ended up being a bad guy. And we're talking about the public's money. I had to spend my money out of my pocket. I'm not Wanda when I am in this office. I am the Shelby County Clerk, Wanda Halbert, when I'm in this office. And that's a problem.
Clerk Halbert, you said earlier that you've been putting in requests for rent payments with these other locations. Are you putting in those requests with the Millington location now?
Sir, I don't have anything to do with the creation of the Millington contract. I was not at the meeting. I don't know what they discussed. Outside of the paperwork, I'm not going to anything about that until it comes up and becomes a responsibility of this office to look into it. Whomever created it, they paid for it for more than a year before I even found out about it, if I'm not mistaken. And so they can continue paying it. I am not at all going to quote any state or, local, state, or federal laws, rules, and regulations, but I do have common sense. You cannot make a decision for me without me being at the table. So I'm done with the Millington lease. If someone wants to come and make a different kind of conversation, hit the table, let's do that. But let's not pretend that this current relationship, whatever it may be, it has absolutely nothing to do with the current Shelby County Clerk or the Shelby County Clerk team.
Can I interject, Madam? If you look at the lease that you have, if you look at the documentation, there was a resolution that was passed by the Shelby County Commission. It speaks for itself. The resolution specifically states that the county will pay that Millington lease, not the clerk. So the county entered into a lease, and the mayor, as the official contracting officer for the county, can always enter into any lease he wants. So the county, on behalf of the commission, entered into a lease with Millington. So the county assumed that responsibility. Hey, let's be crystal clear. Millington is in Shelby County. In a Millington building, if Shelby County should be able to live, rent, wherever in a Shelby County building, because our taxpayers pay for that building. So for the clerk to be paying specific taxes for a building that the Shelby County taxpayers pay for, that makes no sense. But there was a resolution that somehow that was brought up by the Millington, said, hey, look, we need to have some rent paid because we need some issues taken care of. The Shelby County Commission agreed on that. The Shelby County Commission entered into an agreement with the mayor to pay for that lease. And that has nothing to do with the clerk's office, because that's how it's all set up. And you got the documents to establish that.
And I will add to that, if I may, that, this is my third government position, and I've never seen decisions made for offices without all partners at the table. And when that doesn't happen, this is what we get. We get a lot of turmoil, a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, trust factors. Downtown in our motor vehicle side is the largest customer space that we have in the Shelby County Clerk's office. According to the documentation given to us by the fire marshal, we are only allowed to have up to 12 to 14 customers in that space at a time. Impossible. Impossible. And it's just a little alarming that, something is all of a sudden happening that made us forget about that and overlook that. What is that thing? It is impossible for us to serve in the largest facility 12 to 14 customers at a time legally. Impossible, but we're making it work. So we don't have a problem, meeting with, attempting to negotiate, talk to anyone, but we're not even talking about 20, 30, 40-year-old facilities where our customer base has significantly outgrown those facilities. The technology infrastructure. We have a lot of challenges. It's our job to try to clean it up, but if someone's going to hold the purse string that belongs to the county clerk's office, then if the state is okay with that, we have to live within the confines of what the state, local officials decided. But we're not just elected officials. We have laws, rules, and regulations that govern our duties. What does the law say? What does the governance of the process say? To get a call from someone wanting to talk to me about my lease at Millington, and I've never had a lease at Millington, that's just incredible. It's just incredible. We're not kids here. We're not children. We are adults. We are elected and or appointed adults. And there is no Millington lease that was even presented to me or this team prior to someone engaging in some kind of contract and possibly paying them for a year.
And to answer specifically answer your question, if you do an open records request, you can find out how much those fees are.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
So I think that's, excuse me. I think that's it for us. Unless you all have some other questions, some things we may not be able to respond to, would have to get information. You are more than welcome to reach out to us anytime if you need additional reports. We're going to keep those reports coming. I did want to say that a few days ago I was on my way to work and I was driving down one of the streets right outside of Orange Mound, and I saw a couple of the individuals who have come here to, law enforcement. And I drove up and they were looking real weird and strange at me and like, what do you want? What are you here for? And I told them I just wanted to thank them because this is a lot for all of us. And I would imagine for them and their families as well, because they're here with the intent of hoping to protect, us, the integrity of whatever, surrounds us. So I do want to go on the record to thank them. And to let the public know, if you have messed up, you have not gotten your title, your plate for 2-3 years, go and fix it. Get it fixed. Go and take care of it before, something happens. When I think back to that mom with that baby in that carriage, and they pulled her plate, but she was illegal and she admitted it. So, but we want to thank you all for coming in. This will not be the last. We're going to continue to give you updates. And if you all need anything from us, please feel free to always contact me. Yes, sir, you have a last question.
Yes, last question on to Desmond ABC 24. You have mentioned about the lack of, technology. You guys mentioned that the age of the building. Is this an opportunity for you to formally say that you would request or recommend that it be a new building or maybe new construction to update the outdated things that you are seeing right now?
We have actually been doing that over the last several years, and one of the biggest locations that I was pretty excited about as a potential, the old Memphis Light Gas and Water that's on Summer Avenue right off, is that Parkway? South Parkway, Southeast Parkway. And it's an old bank, And when I saw the facility, it had like 30-something parking spaces for the public. We just needed to clean it up. It was a perfect idea for walk-in, kiosks, need to see a live person, and it's not the only one. We've had 2, 3 different real estate agents working with us at no cost. We have a full comprehensive list of 60 to 90 properties, and for some odd reason, we just cannot seem to get a one. We cannot seem to get a one, and I'm not comfortable with that. I have to be honest about that. But I have faith that we'll be able to move forward, and all of us are going to do the right thing, because our work is about the public. It's not about us independently. And having been in government for at least 25, 30 plus years, I've always put the people first. We're not putting the people first right now. And those are our bosses. And we have a duty and a responsibility to report to convince and to show our bosses exactly what we need to be doing. And we haven't been doing that like we need to in Shelby County government. So thank you all. We appreciate you coming, and I will promise to keep you all informed weekly. And then we'll reach out to you and kind of update you on where we are with our day-to-day operations. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.